All right, so D.B. Cooper, this guy, right? This seemingly average dude just vanished, poof, into thin air. Did he pull off like the ultimate heist, or was his ending a lot less glamorous? Let's dig into what we actually know about this case.
It's wild how well Cooper just blended right in, boarded that plane looking totally normal. Suit and tie, not exactly the image that pops into your head when you think hijacker, right?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, reports even said he ordered a bourbon and soda, paid cash. You'd never even guess this guy was about to, take over the whole plane.
And then there's that note,
Mm.
the one he gives to the stewardess, like straight out of a movie.
Total spy thriller stuff.
At first she thought it was just like a phone number or something. But Cooper, cool as a cucumber, he tells her, no, you really got to read this. That's when it all hits her. I have a bomb.
Chills, right? Just thinking about it.
Totally. And what gets me is how the note is written. Direct. To the point. No threats, no crazy rambling. It all points to a very calculated guy. Someone who was in control, knew exactly what he wanted.
So, no, like manifesto or anything, just the facts.
Yeah.
And it's interesting how specific his demands were. Not just any money, it had to be $200,000, all in 20s. Then there's those 4 parachutes, and he makes it clear. He wants the kind you operate manually, not the automatic ones. What do you make of that?
Yeah, the parachute thing, that's one of the biggest head scratchers in this whole case. I mean, it makes you think he knew a thing or two about skydiving. More than just your average Joe, right? If you were just trying to make a quick escape, any parachute would work. But he wanted the manual kind, specifically, almost like he was making sure they couldn't give him a debt or something.
So he was thinking ahead, like, what if they try to mess with my escape?
Wow, that's thinking several steps ahead.
For sure. It shows just how carefully he planned everything, which is both, well, impressive and kind of scary.
Yeah, no kidding. And let's not forget about the crew he kept on board. The pilot, the co-pilot, the engineer, and of course the stewardess who got that first note. It's like he was putting together a special team for this crazy escape plan. Absolutely. He needed those people for very specific reasons. The pilot to fly where he wanted, the engineer for the refueling, the stewardess to communicate with everyone else. Nothing about that was random. It was all thought out.
So by this point, picture it right. The passengers are all safe on the ground, the plane's refueled, and Cooper's ready to make his move. Can you imagine what was going through the minds of those crew members?
Must have been terrifying. Completely at the mercy of this mysterious guy. And remember, this was all happening at night, during a storm, no less.
Talk about taking a gamble. Makes you wonder if Cooper had any second thoughts at that moment,
Yeah.
standing there, the wind howling outside.
I wish we knew what was going through his head.
Right.
But what we do know is Cooper, with $200,000 strapped to him, he takes that leap into the night. His last words. Just a simple no.
Just like that. Gone. Like he just vanished into the storm itself.
And that's where things really get interesting. The pilot didn't even know Cooper had jumped at first, didn't realize it until they felt the plane change, with the pressure and all. By then, way too late.
So we have this incredible escape, this mysterious figure disappearing into the night. But this is just the beginning of the story. What happens next is where things get really interesting.
The FBI, they went all out. Massive manhunt. I mean, they had ground teams, helicopters, the whole 9 yards. But with that storm raging, the rough terrain, no witnesses, it was like looking for a needle in a haystack.
Yeah, can you imagine the pressure on them? This wasn't just some petty crime. This guy hijacked a plane and made off with a fortune. The public was freaking out. The media was going crazy. And the FBI had to come up with some answers.
And the craziest thing is how this case just blew up. People were fascinated. Cooper, this average guy who outfoxed the feds, he became like a folk hero to some people.
Well, it's like he tapped into that part of us that loves an underdog, right? Someone who sticks it to the man.
Exactly. And remember, this was 1971. There was a lot of that anti-establishment feeling going around. So Cooper, I mean, whether he meant to or not, he kind of became a symbol for that.
Right. But let's not forget, he was still a criminal. He put people's lives in danger.
Oh, yeah, totally. But that's what makes it so interesting, It's like, was he a cold-hearted criminal or some kind of modern-day Robin Hood?
Good question. Well, for years, the case just went cold, didn't it? Then, boom. In 1980, this incredible thing happens. A kid's playing by the Columbia River and finds these bundles of, rotting $20 bills. And guess what? They matched the serial numbers from Cooper's ransom money.
And the location of that money, it's wild. It wasn't hidden away. It was just sitting there on the riverbank, almost like it had washed up.
So, all these years later, this kid stumbles onto Cooper's cash. Talk about a lucky break. But that just made the whole thing even more mysterious. If this was Cooper's money, where's the rest of it? And the bigger question, where is he?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Did Cooper die during the jump and the money just drifted downriver? Or did he pull it off, stash most of the loot somewhere, and this was just a small part he'd lost?
Okay, so let's get into the theories. Some people think Cooper was a pro skydiver, that he planned this whole thing out perfectly, had a getaway car waiting and everything, just lived out the rest of his days sipping cocktails on a beach somewhere with his loot.
Right, and there's actually some stuff that supports that. Like his whole insistence on those specific parachutes, it's like he knew what he was doing, you know?
But then others say the jump was way too dangerous. Even a really good skydiver would have struggled to survive a jump like that. It was dark, stormy, the terrain was awful.
It was a huge gamble, that's for sure. So many things could have gone wrong. Maybe he landed and got injured, or lost the money in the river, or just couldn't handle the elements. Some people even think he might have run into, well, let's just say not so friendly folks in that area.
Yeah, not a comforting thought. Out in the middle of nowhere, you never know who you might encounter. But even if he did die out there, where's the body? You'd think they would have found something after all this time.
That's another piece of the puzzle, isn't it? If he landed in the river, who knows where the current took him? Or maybe animals got to him, scattered the remains. It's not pretty to think about, but it happens.
It's true. Nature can be harsh. Hey, didn't they actually rename a whole town after Cooper? What was that all about?
Yeah, they did. Ariel, Washington, the town closest to where they think he landed, they actually changed their name to D.B. Cooper for a bit. Just a publicity stunt, of course, but it shows you how obsessed people were with this case.
It's like he became a legend,
Yeah.
real-life outlaw. And even though the FBI officially closed the case back in 2016, people are still trying to figure it out.
Oh, yeah, totally. The D.B. Cooper case, I mean, it's inspired books, documentaries, websites, whole online communities trying to solve the mystery. And there are new theories popping up all the time.
Which brings us back to those parachutes, those 4 parachutes.
Yeah.
What was he really planning? Was he really going to take hostages and make them jump with him into that storm?
It's a scary thought for sure. Cooper making those poor crew jump with him into that mess. But, there are other ideas about those extra parachutes.
Right, like wasn't there something about him trying to pull a fast one on the FBI?
Exactly. He might have demanded all those parachutes to make them think he was going to take hostages. That way they'd have to give him the real deal. No way they'd risk the lives of those crew members by messing with the chutes.
Wow, so he's playing mind games with them right from the get-go.
And it totally worked. They had to give him what he wanted. Cooper, he knew they'd give him good parachutes.
But couldn't he have also had, like, someone waiting for him on the ground? An accomplice with a getaway car and everything? Maybe those extra parachutes were for them.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, he did disappear pretty darn well. A team down there could have helped him get away clean.
It would explain a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But then there's still that money mystery, right? They only found a tiny bit of what he took. Where's the rest of it?
Some people think it's still out there somewhere, buried in the woods, in the Pacific Northwest. Maybe Cooper stashed it before he jumped, or maybe he lost it while escaping. The wind could have scattered it, or the river could have swept it away. Talk about a treasure hunt, right?
Can you imagine finding all that cash?
Yeah.
But you know what? Even if we never find that money, the story itself is pretty amazing. It's like proof that there are still these big mysteries out there that we may never solve.
What gets me is how people are still so into the D.B. Cooper case after all this time. There's just something about not knowing, That unsolved puzzle, it keeps us hooked.
And it's not just the mystery, right? It's Cooper himself. Who was this guy? A criminal mastermind, some kind of thrill seeker. Was he just desperate?
Yeah, who knows? We might never have all the answers. And honestly, that's kind of what makes the legend so cool. We can fill in the blanks ourselves, come up with our own ideas about what happened.
Like we're all detectives trying to piece it together. And hey, maybe one day someone will find that one clue that solves the whole thing.
Until then, all we have is the story. D.B. Cooper, the guy who took a chance, outsmarted the feds and disappeared. He left us with a lot of questions and a story that people can't get enough of.
Well, that wraps up our deep dive into the D.B. Cooper case. But don't stop here. Go out there and do your own digging. Read about the theories. Come up with your own conclusions. Who knows? Maybe you'll be the one to finally crack this case wide open.